Well, it's quite a scene, it's quite a noise. Welcome to Italy, welcome to Naples, and welcome to this vast arena that is the Stadio San Paolo. And we have two tiers all the way around, 60,000 people. To our left, people are holding up glittery silver banners and blue banners, the colours of Napoli. There is a red flare blazing somewhere in an exit and smoke pouring up from it. On the far side of the ground, people are letting off sparklers over there and fireworks that are shooting up into the sky. There is smoke all over the place. And in the end, to our right here, everyone has blue and white check flags and they're waving them around. I had a look, you know, there are homemade banners hanging from just about every possible vantage point, and I noticed one that was written in English. There was a message, I think, to the Premier League, and it said, "This is real football." It is something else, Danny Mills.
Oh, it's absolutely magnificent. This is what Champions League, you know, European nights are all about. You know, there's now a haze, you can hear the noise, there's flares everywhere. And this is what makes it special. These are the sort of moments and the big games as a player you dream about as a kid. Manchester City now have a fantastic opportunity. They've got to hold their nerve in the first 10, 15 minutes of this game, not get overawed by the occasion. And of course, they have the opportunity to go on and play more games like this later in the competition.
Well, you need to be confident coming to a place like this, but Manchester City are confident, having won their last 9 games in all competitions. The team news is that Aguero and Nasri dropped to the bench. Mancini, as is his wont, switches his fullbacks. Kolarov and Zabaleta are in the team tonight. Richards is not even on the bench. There was a suggestion Fabio Capello was going to come here this evening to see how Richards coped. Well, he'll still have Hart and Milner to watch if he is coming, the England coach. Silva and Dzeko are the two to come in for Aguero and Nasri. Napoli just make one change from their team at the weekend. The now fully fit Uruguayan Gargano comes into midfield for Jamilik. So, as the captains down there are just conducting the toss, the Napoli captain, very familiar name, Cannavaro, Paolo Cannavaro, Fabio's younger brother, shaking hands with Vincent Kompany and exchanging the pennants. Napoli in the Manchester City kit. The blue shirts, white shorts and blue socks. City in the red and black stripes tonight with the yellow numbers on the back, black shorts and red and black socks. Napoli's team is De Sanctis, Campagnaro, Cannavaro and Aronica. Then a line of 4, Maggio, Gargano, Inler and Dossena, with the 3 tenors as they call them. Hamsik, the Slovak captain from the World Cup, Lavezzi and then Cavani, who scored the opening goal when the sides met earlier in the group at Eastlands. And the City side tonight, Hart, Zabaleta, Kompany, Lescott and Kolarov, Milner, Yaya Toure and De Jong, with Silva, Dzeko and Balotelli. So he has gone with Balotelli tonight. Danny, has he picked the right team this time? We did criticise him for his team selection in Munich.
Well, I'm very surprised that Mika Richards is not playing. Obviously was fantastic at the weekend. You know, I think he's been outstanding this season. Not injured at all. Obviously we saw him and Toure doing a bit of a running session on the pitch before the game. So the fact that he's not even on the bench, I do find slightly bizarre. But, you know, Kolarov has come in, European style. Zabaleta will not attack as much as Mika Richards. I think Milner's very, very important in there. And of course you've got the likes of Silva coming back in after a bit of a rest at the weekend. And Balotelli, well, you know, it's made for Balotelli. Yet again, I think we say again, he's either going to score a hat-trick or get sent off in the first 20 minutes, you know, and I'm not quite sure which it will be.
This is the Champions League on BBC 5 Live in Naples, and it is the home side who get the game underway. These are the two sides that finished third in Italy and England last season, but City, the Premier League leaders, and having to defend here as the ball is carried forward by Lavezzi, but Manchester City do deal with it, and they're defending the goal to our left in the first half. And here's Silva. Manchester City in possession at the moment. That's what the whistles are all about, and it is Yaya Toure who just plays the ball towards the left-hand side, and Kolarov gets a touch. Now it's Balotelli, and his infield pass is cleared away downfield into the City half. Should tell you as well, if you've got friends and family perhaps who have come here with Manchester City, we are told that all of the Manchester City supporters, 800 or 900 of them, have safely being got into the ground here, and they're just in a section to our right. They've actually got black netting, see-through netting either side of them, just to make sure that nothing that shouldn't get in there gets in there. Well, here's Milner down the right-hand side for Manchester City into the full-back position. Angles the ball to Zabaleta. Zabaleta's crossed into the area. It's flicked by Dzeko, and he might have left that for Balotelli, and as a result, Napoli have got it back.
Decent break forward from City. I think Dzeko was caught in two minds. It looked like he was going to try the overhead kick, then realised that Balotelli was behind him, and in the end hesitated and really did neither. City have got to use all their experience, the likes of Toure, the people like Dzeko, Silva, that used to playing in European football. What they've got to do, they've got to quieten the crowd down. This crowd is going to be vicious and ferocious all night long. If you can quieten them down in the first 10-15 minutes, that's half the battle won.
Some job to quieten them down. Firecracker going off, just about jumped out of my skin. You didn't flinch. Very impressed. It's 0-0, very early stages. 0-0 at Old Trafford as well. Napoli defender here, and Aronica. Ball ended up at his feet, Aronica, and he was untroubled at the time, so he's cleared it downfield, and De Jong now gives it back to Company. De Jong again, and the Dutchman gives it to the left-hand side. And there is a goal at Old Trafford. Conor McNamara.
It's Manchester United 0, Benfica 1. The goal has come inside 3 minutes, and it's an own goal of Phil Jones playing centre half for Manchester United. Gaitan crossed from the right hand side. It deflected off the legs of Evra, and stretching to try and keep it out, Phil Jones turned the ball into his own net. Manchester United 0, Benfica 1.
And a goal in the Championship too at Birmingham, Ian Brown.
And it's gone to Birmingham. Birmingham 1, Burnley 0. Chris Burke was played through. His shot was parried onto the bar, but the rebound was slashed in from an angle by Jean Beausejour. So it's Birmingham 1, Burnley 0.
And Real Madrid have taken the lead against Dinamo Zagreb. Karim Benzema with the goal. Real Madrid on the way through. They're the only team who've won all of their games so far in the group stage. And Bayern Munich have gone 1-0 up on Villarreal in this group. Bayern Munich leading the section with 10 points, then Manchester City with 7, Napoli with 5, and Villarreal yet to have a point to their name. Just to remind you as well that Manchester City, if they win this game this evening here in Naples, they will be sure of qualifying from the group. But with Bayern Munich at home in the final match, it's easier said than done, I feel, Danny, even with the record and the way that City have got the momentum behind them at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Bayern Munich, even if they have won by then, they will come to they'll come to the Etihad Stadium. They'll put out a strong side. They will want to show everybody that they are one of the best teams in Europe, and it won't be an easy game no matter what. So it's a big opportunity. I think City just don't want to lose this evening. That's the most important thing away from home in Europe.
Frank Ribery who scored for Bayern Munich. Manchester United 1-0 down at home to Benfica, but City here with Dzeko on the right hand side. Dzeko now towards the corner flag, 3 Napoli players with him, gets the crossover, but it just dribbles through to De Sanctis, Italian international goalkeeper. He's back on the international scene, experienced figure, 34 years old, clears it to the halfway line, just gives possession back to the red and black of Manchester City. Here's Milner now, skips inside Gökhan Inler, the Swiss international captain. Now Yaya Toure, forward from Lescott, and Milner, and back to Lescott again. It's the first game that Julian Lescott has started away from home in the Champions League this season. He was an unused substitute in Munich and in Villarreal. Here's Yaya Toure now carrying the ball forward, chance to shoot, which he does, and he's just about reached the seats, and that's a long way. It was high and wide, carried the running track, but not quite bounced into the seats.
Just missed the moat. It needed about another yard on it just to get over the little moat and onto the green effectively. But yeah, a little bit of, I suppose, not desperation, but just a long shot. City have started well though. I think the midfield is strong. Yaya Toure, De Jong, Milner. I think you almost have to include David Silva in there as well. I think City's midfield is the key to all their play. Not only are they strong physically, but they're mentally strong, and they keep the ball very, very well.
Here's De Sena, the former Liverpool man. Remember the week when he scored against Real Madrid and Manchester United for Liverpool? His only goals for the club. Well, he's lost possession. And now here's Dzeko. Dzeko dancing one way and the other to evade the challenge. Gives it to Zabaleta on the right-hand side. Then infield, Yaya Toure. And he's going to go back into his own half. Patient stuff. Good, experienced Champions League stuff from Manchester City. There's Kolarov now on the left. And Balotelli now turns, he'll have a go, right-footed shot, bounces wide of the post from just outside the D.
Well, I'll tell you what, the keeper's left that, and that from where we are looked to be no more than a few inches away from the post. Obviously the keeper had a good sight of it, but again, that's what Balotelli's good at. He received the ball, a tight turn on the edge of the box, rolled the defender, using his strength, and just went for that little bendy shot into the far corner. Obviously the very, very confident goalkeeper knew it was going wide from the outset.
Real Madrid now 2-0 up on Dinamo Zagreb. So Jose Mourinho forced to be reckoned with in the Champions League again this season, and in the Spanish League they're top of the table at the moment, ahead of Barcelona. 2-0 up, and first 7 minutes here in Naples, I would say, have been very efficiently dealt with by Manchester City, and the smoke has almost magically cleared from all of those flares. I think the blustery conditions this evening have probably helped that to be the case. It's Lavezzi. Lavezzi now in a deep line position, angles the ball to the edge of the area, straight at Lescott, who's able, has the time to take it down. Oh, that's given away by Silva. This could be dangerous for City. Inler carrying it forward. Cavani then, challenge came in on him from Zabaleta, no free kick, says the Slovenian referee Damir Skomina, and he's still writhing around Cavani as Manchester City break away downfield with Kolarov. City still with it. Silva looking for it at close quarters. Infield it comes to Yaya Toure. Nice clever flick from Yaya Toure as the challenge came in on him. Yaya Toure's got it back, but he's given it away. Misplaced pass. Cavani's back on his feet. Surprise, surprise. Now Hamsik. He's bringing it forward. The Slovak captain to the right-hand side. Lavezzi is there, approaching the penalty area in the full-back position. Beats the challenge, pulls it across, Hamsik's header, straight at Hart, who's able to catch it just to the left of his left knee. It's like a slip catch by Joe Hart.
Well, a very good piece of play from Napoli. First of all, David Silva gave the ball away 10 yards outside the box, and I think Zabaleta, for me, was very, very fortunate. I think, in the Premier League, any sort of tackle like that would have certainly been a free kick. He might have got a bit of the ball, but when you come through the back of somebody and take them out, generally you don't get away with it. And then Yaya Toure, of all people, gave the ball away. A fantastic break, and Hamsik was, probably out in the penalty spot. Difficult to get real power in the header, and Joe Hart, I think, thankful that it was maybe only just a yard low to his left and managed to gather it quite easily. But warning signs for City: if you give the ball away against quality teams, you're certainly going to get punished.
0-0. Napoli 0, Manchester City 0. And from the Champions League and Naples, 3/4 of the way down the left side of the boot of Italy, we'll go to the FA Cup and Stourbridge and Hamish Marshall.
Stourbridge 0, Plymouth 0, but Plymouth are down to 10 men. Marcus Bignett was sent off for retaliation after a Sean Evans challenge, so the non-league side will have a man advantage for the last hour of this game. 0-0.
Thanks, Hamish. It really was a neat little save by Joe Hart from the Hamsik header. And he has now Kolarov, pulls the ball across the Napoli penalty area, it's cleared away. Very nearly found Dzeko next to the penalty spot, but one of the defenders, one of the three central defenders that Napoli play with, it was Aronica, the left-sided man, was able to backtrack and just get a heel to it. FC Basel now winning 1-0 away against the Romanians, Galat, in Manchester United's group. And Real Madrid are already 3-0 up on Dinamo Zagreb. Balotelli challenged, gets up, then runs into the defender, wanted a free kick. Quite rightly, the referee didn't give it. And now Napoli move away on the counter-attack. Ball to the left-hand side, to Lavezzi. Flicks it forward to the edge of the area. Cavani back to Lavezzi, whose shot is drilled 3 yards wide.
I'll tell you what, that was a fantastic piece of play. Little intricate 1-2 on the edge of the box. The little, I suppose, back heel flick, and he was sliding in. If that had been on target, I don't think Joe Hart would have got there. It was a magnificent strike. He was off balance. I think Joe was very, very fortunate that's gone maybe only 2 or 3 feet wide of the post. But again, warning signs for City. If they don't get tight and they give the ball away, Napoli is certainly going to hit them on the counter-attack.
No, there would have been no catching that like Andrew Strauss. He struck it as clean as can be, Lavezzi. And we can already see, can't we, even in the early stages, the link-up between... I'm of a nervous disposition, Danny, that explains it. The link-up between Lavezzi, Cavani and Hamsik, and Silva's been fouled near the dugout, and Roberto Mancini just appears from behind the blue awning that covers the dugout, and the referee is just going to speak to De Sena. De Sena with the challenge on Silva, and down goes Mancini again with his hands in his pockets and disappears almost underground and out of our sight. Napoli 0, Manchester City 0. See what City do with this free kick, and then we'll head back to Old Trafford, where Manchester United are behind to Benfica. It's taken short by Yaya Toure, who goes back into his own half. So let's bring in Conor McNamara again.
Manchester United 0, Benfica 1. Phil Jones' own goal came inside 3 minutes. He's partnering Rio Ferdinand in central defence tonight. The assist claimed by Nicolas Gaitan, who has more assists in the Champions League this season than any other player in the competition. Manchester United 0, Benfica 1.
Well, Balotelli's getting frustrated here. I think the referee got it right again. He was challenged, he lost the ball. A couple of gestures towards the referee from Balotelli that he didn't get the free kick, and now he's sauntering back into his own half, Balotelli, and feeling his right thigh. Ball is played by Lavezzi straight out of play. Didn't strike that as well as he struck the shot, but he's applauded for it anyway, strangely.
I think the idea was right to try and switch the play. Balotelli, I think he stood on the ball that last one. He's had a couple of rough challenges. The Napoli players certainly realised that he maybe does have a little bit of a weakness, and it looks like they're going to try and get stuck into him, try and wind him up and try and get him to react.
Well, they'll know all about him. A number of them are teammates in the Italian national squad, and I get the feeling now with Balotelli that wherever we go, our taxi driver spoke about him, didn't he, earlier this evening, about the little gag that Mark Pugac made about the fireworks. Our taxi driver made about Balotelli, so everyone knows what Balotelli is like. But Mancini's gone with him tonight, Roberto Mancini, who was in the Italian squad that lost in the semi-finals of the World Cup in this stadium. Dzeko plays it forward to Kolarov, who slides into the area, does well, pulls it back. Ball, free kicks given against him inside the area. I thought Balotelli there was going to have an open goal for a moment. But the free kick's been taken quickly, and Kolarov is out of possession. And Napoli bringing it forward. It's 0-0 if you've just joined us on 5 Live. And here's Lavezzi, who loves to drop deep and then run at defences, which is what he's doing now, and gives it to the right-hand side. Hamsik is there. Hamsik's cross into the middle. Gürkan Inler, it was over his head, but it still reaches De Sena, who plays it nicely, and it takes a flick right across the face of Joe Hart's goal and wide of the far post.
Well, already this is 4 or 5 times that City have been caught out on the break. And I think the difference is, they're used to playing in the Premier League, they're used to having so much possession, attacking for long periods. When teams get a goal kick or a free kick, they take their time, they regroup. Napoli are on the front foot. Every opportunity, they're getting the ball quickly. Cavani, Hamsik are causing all sorts of problems in the City defence. It's
actually being given as a corner. Hamsik takes it, headed away at the near post by Lescott. Milner then, a little heavy touch really, has given it back for the blue shirts of Napoli as they play from right to left. Still Napoli. High ball swung out towards Lavezzi, who takes it down on his chest and then drives across the edge of the penalty area and shoots straight into Kompany's left leg, and that deflection takes it all the way to Milner, who now has space to make up ground down the left hand side. City coming forward on the counter-attack, ball across, asked a lot of Balotelli, couldn't control it, and Napoli cleared to the halfway line. Still 0-0. Danny Mills.
I think that ball was meant for Dzeko on this near side. Balotelli really was stretching, was always going to struggle to bring it under control. City have just got to calm down a little bit, keep the ball a little bit better, slow the tempo of the game down. And when they change,
Dzeko on his right foot, shoots, but gets right underneath it and sends it high over the bar.
When City lose possession, when the ball changes hands, they've really got to be at it, because the moment that happens, Napoli really want to counter-attack, and they counter-attack with pace and get that ball as quickly as they possibly can, and start attacking the City back four.
So in Manchester United's Group C, Basel are now 2-0 up away to the Romanians, Galats, and That would take Basel to 8 points. And if Manchester United were to lose at home to Benfica, I know it's early in the game, but they are behind at Old Trafford, then Basel and Manchester United would be level on 8 points. And United's final game is in Switzerland against Basel. 0-0 here. Manchester City, if they win, they'll be guaranteed to go through to the knockout stages of the Champions League, and their debut in this form of the European Cup / Champions League. Here is Aronica, the central defender. Lavezzi now takes it up. He's really caught the eye in the early stages. Here's Inler. Inler will shoot from distance, and Joe Hart has to watch it very carefully and throw up a left arm to push it over the top of the bar.
Good save again, but City just backing off. Inler, he played it out of his feet, and he almost thought, actually, this is too far to shoot. He had another little touch. City still didn't close him down. He thought, you know what, why not? And again, fortunate for Joe Hart, that was straight at him. City have got to be brighter when they haven't got the ball.
It's another corner then for Napoli, this time from the left-hand side. Here it's played into Cavani. It takes a flick and it's found its way to the net. Cavani, the deftest of headers, and somehow it's found a way past Joe Hart at his near post and ricocheted into the back of the Manchester City net. And Naples goes absolutely crazy. They're 1-0 up against Manchester City.
Well, an unbelievable goal. That's going to have to go down as a Joe Hart error. You know, we don't have the benefit here of a replay, unfortunately, but that really is a disastrous mistake. I'm not sure who was on the near post. It was a corner. It was actually a really poor corner. But City, I think their concentration this early part of the game hasn't been at it. I said they'd have to be careful and not be intimidated by this atmosphere. I think one or two players have frozen. They're not doing their jobs, and suddenly now they are right up against it.
Just to repeat it, Danny, you know, in terms of the way that goal was scored, it's played into the near post, and Cavani made a run, you know, towards the near post and beyond it to like the edge of the 6-yard box. Just got a tiny touch, and it hit Joe Hart, who was standing next to the post, and ricocheted into the back of the net. Bounced down, up. I think it might have hit the crossbar and bounced into the back of the net. Joe Hart culpable, I think you have to say.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to go down as a bad Joe Hart error. You know, he's got to do better than that. But again, from the corner, it was a poor corner. It almost hit Cavani on the back of the head, almost. You know, as he was stooping. But again, City caught in possession, getting caught on the counter-attack time after time.
And now here they come again. Napoli, Cavani, the goal scorer, shoots from an angle into the side netting. Somebody very close to us got very excited about that. Thought they'd scored, but still 1-0 to Napoli.
I've said all season, City for me have defensive frailties, and I think they have one or two problems. It does not help when you keep chopping and changing your defensive partnerships, you know, week in, week out. Mika Richards and Calcio played at the weekend. You've changed that now, so suddenly Company and Lescott have two new partners to get used to again. And I think City are getting hit on the counter-attack time after time. Already, that must be 7 or 8 chances, good chances, that Napoli have created. And in a Champions League match, that is far too many. You are going to get punished.
So just as in the first game in the group between these sides at Eastlands, it's the Italians who've taken the lead. Here's Silva though. Silva shoots from 22, 23 yards, but straight really at De Sanctis, who just had to adjust slightly and move to his left and take the ball into his chest. In the FA Cup, Aldershot have taken the lead against Maidenhead. It's 1-0 to Aldershot. And also Gillingham 1-0 up on Bournemouth. And in the Champions League, Claudio Ranieri's Inter Milan are winning 1-0 away against Trabzonspor. They're struggling away down the Italian league, Inter, after a bad start to the season, but they're top of their Champions League group and winning in Turkey. So Manchester City have got a test on their hands here, Danny Mills, just as they did in Munich when we were there. It's again, they've come away from home in Europe against a very decent team, and they're struggling a little. Here's Silva though now, just dances away from the channels from De Sena and then slips Silva, and the ball runs away from him. Not sure what happened there for Silva. And Napoli run the ball towards the halfway line, where Aronica just runs into Zabaleta and is now rolling around on the pitch. Mancini comes forward as if to say, I've seen this a million times before, referee. Just get him up and let him get on with the game.
I think they might have learnt it from Mancini himself. Seen that once or twice.
Quite possibly.
But it's actually good play, because he's come out, he's got the ball off Silva, he's running, he's really got nowhere to go. Zabletta's coming across, he's just towed it past him and literally just ran straight into him. The ref has no option but to give a foul. Napoli can now, get their breath back, take a little bit of time. But, City, last season were very, very defensive and played that style and were quite good at it. This season I think they've been the complete opposite, and now that they've tried to revert back to play a more negative defensive game, I don't think they're anywhere near the team that they do in the Premier League. They don't play this way in the Premier League. They go out, they attack, but they score goals and put teams on the back foot. In Europe, they've really reverted to type of last season, played in a defensive style, and so far it really hasn't worked for them.
Real Madrid now 4-0 up on Dinamo Zagreb. Mesut Ozil with the latest goal. Aronica is finally back on his feet. I thought he was never going to, but he is. Play back underway, and Napoli leading through that goal. The Cavani header in the 18th minute of this game, but Joe Hart badly at fault. Go to Old Trafford in a moment, but Yaya Toure picks out Kolarov again on the left, but Kolarov's ball across for certainly not the first time during the course of the game. Hits the first defender, Maggio, and bounces out of play for a throw-in to Manchester City. We will go to Old Trafford shortly, but City have got this throw-in level with the edge of the area. Balotelli runs away from him, and Napoli clear. So here is Connor.
Manchester United 0, Benfica 1. This is not going well for Manchester United. No Wayne Rooney, remember, not even on the bench. Nani's been unceremoniously upended by both Benfica central defenders. He's a marked man tonight. Phil Jones' own goal came early, inside 3 minutes. Manchester United 0, Benfica 1.
And it's Stourbridge 0, Plymouth 0 in the FA Cup at half-time. So halfway through the first half here in Naples on 5 Live. And here's Ian Dennis.
Thank you, John. This is Zabaleta, right-hand side. Manchester City in their red and black striped shirts, playing from left to right in this cavernous stadium against Napoli in their sky blue shirts, and it's the Italians who lead by a 0-0. And here's a thought for you. England's top 2 in the Europa League come the new year. Certainly with the results as they stand, there is work to do for both Manchester United and Manchester City. United are trailing at home to Benfica. If it stays like this, Benfica will go through as group winners from Group C. Manchester City will lose the initiative in Group A. Trabzonspor have equalised at home to Inter Milan. That is a significant scoreline in that particular group when you consider that Lille beat CSK Moscow earlier today in Russia by 2-0, and Trabzonspor, if they get a point from that, would move into second place, the Turkish side. Here, it's imperative that Manchester City avoid defeat against the Napoli side, who have caused them some problems. And that Joe Hart error. Danny, you talked about that defensive unit, and it's constantly changed. For the third successive time on their travels in the Champions League, it is once more a different back unit that Roberto Mancini has employed.
Definitely, and I think you find that, also, Chelsea have done that this season. They've had issues. Manchester United have constantly changed their back four.
Here they come again. Ball in from the right-hand side, looking for Cavani. It was a diagonal ball that was always dropping away from the Uruguayan, the long-haired striker, and gratefully received by Joe Hart as Milner is caught in possession. Lavezzi holds off the challenger Silva. The referee says there was no foul. Whether there was a little nudge in the back there from Silva on Lavezzi, who likes to play off Cavani along with Hamsik. Here is Silva, sidesteps one challenge, wriggles away from another. Lavezzi was though back, and the blue shirts will come forward for Napoli. Cavani then slips as Company will bring the ball away out of the Manchester City penalty area, and then James Milner with a searching ball looking towards Balotelli, but it aimed towards the goalkeeper De Santis. And Napoli are in possession, building from the back. Danny Mills.
Well, I tell you what it is at the moment. Napoli are certainly, for me, playing almost like an old-style English Premier League team. They're really closing people down. They're putting an awful lot of people under pressure. They're not giving Man City any sort of room on the ball, and they're almost muscling them out of it at times. There's 2 or 3 people, really high tempo around the ball, nudges, tackles, and City don't like it at the moment.
Here is Silva as Bayern Munich have increased their lead against Villarreal. They now lead 2-0. Milner's cross. There's Dzeko. Hit his head. Not too sure he knew that it was going to come to him, and it didn't seem to react. The Bosnian hit his head and went away from goal. In fact, took a deflection. It's gone behind for a corner that Manchester City will want to take quickly. Milner has come across to take it short. He was urging him to take it quicker than he did. It is taken short. Milner almost stumbles, keeps the ball in play as another firecracker goes off, and eventually it'll be cleared by Cavani. And there was a challenge there on Lavezzi. The referee hasn't spotted. De Jong almost standing still right of the centre circle. Kolarov over on that far side. This is Yaya Toure to Milner, just forward of the centre circle as Manchester City play from left to right. 5 Live Sport, live in Naples. And believe me, there is no substitute for being here this evening with this noise and everything that has gone on around the game in the build-up to this football-mad city. As Company, the Manchester City captain. You can hear what the Napoli supporters think about City's possession for yourselves with the whistling deafening inside the Stadio San Paolo. Balotelli. No real urgency though to City's possession. It's quite pedestrian really. And Napoli, with the goal advantage that they have, the Italians are quite happy just to drop back and let City have it because they're not really going anywhere. They've switched it from left to right. This is Zabaleta, pushes the ball to Dzeko, who makes that run. Zabaleta's come forward now, bit more movement there for City, opens up for Silva, outside the D. Silva's shot goes wide, goal kick.
Well, a little bit better from Silva, but that's really for me letting Napoli off the hook. Napoli are obviously, they are playing at such a high tempo. When City get the ball, they're chasing people down, they're harrying them, they're putting under all sorts of pressure, getting right up against them, giving them no time. They just took their foot off the gas a little bit to take a little bit of a breather. And rather than City, zip the ball around, pass it at speed, they just strolled around and passed it quite leisurely. And that's given Napoli players, 2 or 3 minutes, quite easy to catch their breath, and get back into their rhythm.
Well, since returning to Europe in 2008 after a 13-year absence, they're unbeaten in 10 matches at home. They do have this formidable record. Eintracht Frankfurt, back in the mid-90s, the last side to actually beat Napoli in this antiquated stadium that I don't think has had a lick of paint since Italia 90, for which it was renovated for. Manchester City under pressure once again, up towards Balotelli, just drops back inside his own half, but he was quickly closed down as he tried to play the ball forward. Here is Milner now, lays it off towards Kolarov on that far side, the left. Remember, Manchester United are trailing at home to Benfica at Old Trafford. And Manchester City, still that Cavani goal separates the two sides here in Naples. Much work to do then for the two Manchester clubs as we go back to Old Trafford and Conor McNamara.
An equaliser for Manchester United. It's 1-1. Dimitar Berbatov with a glancing header that was so delicate. He hardly got any purchase on the ball at all. Hardly changed its gradient, but just that slight nudge to tuck the ball into the bottom corner. And Manchester United, that's their first shot on target of the game. It's 1-1. And here comes Ashley Young through on the goalkeeper. Saved by the legs of Artur. Manchester United 1, Benfica 1.
Well, United's noisy neighbours need to silence this crowd here with an equaliser of their own. So better news from Old Trafford, but here in Naples, City still trail by a goal to nil. Company 10 yards inside his own half. Silva drops short into that City half to collect the ball back towards Company. Yaya Toure once again, but Napoli are working so hard. They're pressing, they're closing down City, and they're struggling to find the spaces as they eventually manoeuvre the ball forward to Yaya Toure. It just opens up, there's a space on that far side. Balotelli, Kolarov was forward on the overlap. Balotelli then will come forward, and in the end it was a comfortable save for the goalkeeper De Santis as the ball just sailed into his midriff.
Well, it was a shot from full 30 yards out, tried a little curler, was never going to have enough power to beat the keeper from that range. I think Balotelli's getting a little bit frustrated. I think Napoli have played him well so far. They've got up against him. They've given what a virgin on fouls every time, and he's getting a little bit frustrated. He hasn't really had the ball. Service into him hasn't been great. And again, Napoli, they come out, they look good on the ball, they look very, very fit, very, very organised. Whether they can keep up for 90 minutes, I think that'll be their only issue.
Gargano, Campagnaro, forward, Hamsik lets it come across his body onto his right foot to play the ball forward. Maggio is on the overlap, the right wing back. It's his cross that goes out of the penalty area. Cavani tried to retrieve it, but the industrious James Milner will bring the ball away, and he carries the ball towards the halfway line. He has Silva in support. Silva releases the ball before he had his legs taken away from him. Good footwork by Milner. Milner, good tenacity. Milner still going for Manchester City on this right hand side, and eventually is felled, drops to his knees and wins a free kick. Well played, James Milner. As there's been a goal at Oxford. Mike Sewell in the FA Cup.
Oxford City 1, Redbridge 0. 37-year-old Lee Steele driving in from close range after a high ball was lofted into the Redbridge penalty area. Oxford City 1, Redbridge 0.
And that could set up a trip away in the second round to Crawley Town. So the FA Cup, the Championship and the Champions League, we've got it all for you here on 5 Live Sport this evening, as Manchester City look to take this free kick that Milner has won on the right hand side. It's just a few yards in from the touchline as Manchester City play from left to right, but they're trailing by 1-0. This is Kolarov. It'll be an in-swinging free kick. Dzeko makes the run, but it was a poor delivery really from Kolarov. Napoli clear. Silva back out towards Zabaleta on the halfway line. Flicked on by Lescott into the penalty area, and the ball runs through towards the goalkeeper.
Again, disappointing from Kolarov. That's probably 4 opportunities he's had now, 3 from the left-hand side to put crosses in that have all hit the first man, and that free kick was a great opportunity for City to just take a little bit of pressure off themselves, get the ball into the box, maybe test the keeper, but again, Kolarov delivery was very, very poor.
Here is De Jong, left of the centre circle. Yaya Toure, Balotelli is inside. This is Balotelli midway through the Napoli half, exchanging his passes with Silva, and then Dzeko, left-hand side of the penalty area, works the ball over. Poor clearance by Aronica, and there it is! Manchester City have got the equaliser, and it's Balotelli! It was a terrible clearance by Aronica. Silva's shot was parried, and Balotelli was on hand, close range, and Manchester City have equalised. And they have silenced the crowd inside the Stadio San Paolo. It had to be Balotelli. It's 1-1.
Well, out of absolutely nothing. It was awful defending. Aronica, as you said, ridiculous clearance really. Had a wild swing at it. Went straight to David Silva, who put it back into the box. The keeper made a decent save and really just parried it out to Balotelli, who was 4 yards out. Simple tapping from that range. He certainly won't get an easier goal. Didn't over-celebrate, but yeah, a very, very simple goal, and really City consider themselves fortunate to be back in it against the run of play, really.
And when I said that he'd silenced the crowd, it is all relative. It's quieter.
Federer against Nadal is now underway on Sports Extra, 5 Sports Extra. Blimey.
That one made me jump. That was the loudest one yet. And in fact, I think even that made Danny Mills jump too.
Oh, not quite. Don't get it a bit louder than that.
Yaya Toure coming forward for Manchester City. And it was important, as we were saying to Mark Pugac ahead of the game, for City to get a score draw here rather than a goalless draw. Should these two sides finish tied on points, and it comes down towards that criteria. A second goal for Manchester City and a 2-2 draw would be even better, because then that would mean that they could afford to draw against Bayern Munich, and it would make no difference whatsoever what happens with Napoli against Villarreal in their final group game. So that's what City are aiming for, to avoid defeat but goals with it too. 1-1 then here in Naples, and the ball has gone behind for a goal kick. It might just give City a lift, because as you say, it was a goal out of nothing.
Well, I think City have got to build on that now. They've got to take confidence from that, realise that they've got themselves back in the game. Probably didn't deserve it on the run of play, but that happens in football. Now they've got to build on that. They need to get to half-time. I think Mancini needs to have a little bit of a word with them. I think they've been too negative for me. In the Premier League, they go out, they attack teams, and they put teams on the back foot, and City's best form of defence is attack. Tonight they've come here, they've sat back a little bit. They've tried to pass the ball around at maybe a slower sort of pace than they normally would, and I don't think it suits their style of play. They've got such a fantastic midfield and forward line. They've got to use that to their strength.
A cry of Mancini from the Manchester City supporters, 900 of them safely inside this stadium. Credit to Manchester City for all of their safety advice that they issued for every travelling supporter to this part of the world, because They are notorious, the Napoli supporters. There's been no repeat, thankfully, of the trouble that marred Liverpool's visit here last October, where 6 Liverpool fans were stabbed, or indeed Bayern Munich's visit here earlier in the season, as Milner looking for Yaya Toure. That pass, though, was intercepted by Cannavaro at the heart of the Napoli defence, as Lavezzi rides the challenge and then runs into De Jong, and the referee has given a free kick against De Jong, so that will be a free kick to Napoli midway through their own half. And in fact, yes, just talking about the trouble, there was 6 Bayern Munich supporters who were stabbed as well when they visited Naples earlier on in this Champions League campaign. This is Lavezzi. The City fans are in good voice behind the mesh and behind the line of stewards with yellow luminous bibs, and strangely their yellow helmets as well. It looks like a line of Bob the Builders in front of the 900 supporters, which is a rather ominous sign, I would have to say, despite all the meshing that separates the City supporters from their Napoli counterparts, that the stewards are still having to wear helmets as a precaution. But there you go, Aronica, who gave away, or was it guilty for giving away, that City equaliser. This is Lavezzi, cutting in towards the penalty area, cross takes a deflection and it will enable De Jong to bring the ball away for Manchester City. Kolarov joins the attack. Yaya Toure there now. In fact, it's Balotelli over on that far side. Balotelli, the City goal scorer, runs forward midway through the Napoli half, but in the end runs into trouble. It was Gargano who eventually stopped his run. And here come Napoli. And this is Inler joining the attack. He has Cavani. Cavani, 30 yards from goal, onto his right foot. Cavani's shot over the top, goal kick. Still 1-1.
I tell you what, City have to be careful. That's the second time Cavani's done that. You know, as he's slipping over, he still managed to get his shot away. He looks very, very sharp, very, very bright. But again, Balotelli giving the ball away, you know, just into the Napoli half. Apart from his goal, he's actually been very, very poor. You know, his touch has let him down. He's given the ball away. He's been muscled out of it far too often. But, you know, as it is always him, you know, he's managed to come up with a right place at the right time and get a goal. City, they just need to get to half-time to calm themselves down a little bit and maybe just rejig their strategy a little bit. I think if they keep playing like this, for what them is a more negative manner, I think, you know, Napoli will certainly create more chances.
Well, latest scores in the FA Cup sponsored by Budweiser. Aldershot are now leading Maidenhead by 2-0. They could well be then heading off to Hillsborough in the second round. Gillingham are still leading Bournemouth by 1-0. Oxford City, we know, are leading Redbridge 1-0. In the Championship, Birmingham still lead Burnley 1-0. No goals between Coventry and Cardiff. And in the Champions League, Basel are now leading Galat by 3-0 in Romania. And it's still Manchester United 1, Benfica 1 in that Group C. Here in Group A, it's 1-1 in Naples. Bayern Munich are leading Villarreal by 2-0 in Germany as Milner forward towards Balotelli on that far side of the left, level with the penalty area. Cannavaro has gone out with him. Balotelli stands still and plays the ball a long way back, midway through the Napoli half to Yaya Toure. De Jong saunters forward, looks towards Dzeko. The ball goes away from Dzeko. Wasn't the best of first touches, but Napoli have given the ball away. Yaya Toure looking to intercept, but they can't really profit, Manchester City. But they may well win a corner, and indeed they do, over on that far side. So 1-1, and once again Napoli guilty of errors in the midfield.
City now have a great opportunity. Kolarov so far, set pieces have been poor, delivery's not been great. This is a great opportunity for City. You know, use the most of these set pieces, get some pressure on the keeper, you know, try and create a chance.
Kompany's up from the back, Balotelli's there, as is Yaya Toure. In comes the corner, and Kompany inside the 6-yard box, couldn't keep it down, really got underneath the ball, headed it over and onto the athletics track, away to our right hand side. It bounces, that damp athletics track, in front of the supporters, away to our right hand side. So still 1-1 here as we go back to Old Trafford and Conor McNamara.
Same scoreline between Manchester United and Benfica. I think this has been a really entertaining first half. Benfica are very easy on the eye, and after a slow start, Manchester United warming up as the evening progresses. Phil Jones scored the own goal that put Benfica in front. Dimitar Berbatov equalised with a slight glancing header. Manchester United 1, Benfica 1.
Thank you, Conor. Tomorrow, of course, there'll be further Champions League action for you. The commentary comes from Germany, Bayer Leverkusen against Chelsea, who are top of Group E, with reports of Arsenal against Borussia Dortmund from Group F on 5 Live, as Vincent Kompany across towards Zabaleta. One of the 4 changes that Mancini made after the victory against Newcastle at the weekend. Micah Richards not even on the bench for Manchester City this evening, as Kompany finds Milner. Milner head down, has some space to run into on this near side the right. He's then held up by Inlet, and in fact they couldn't keep the ball in play. A little bit careless, and it'll be a Napoli throw. But since the City equaliser, Napoli haven't really posed that same level of threat as they did in the first quarter of the game.
No, I think that shocked them a little bit. They were so on top, they were really up for this game, and I think it's just knocked the wind out of their sails a little bit. And again, City have come back into it. They've got a bit more confidence from that goal now. It's starting to, still for me, a little bit too negative, but Napoli have certainly taken their foot off the gas, and again, maybe just lost a little bit of confidence in what they were doing.
Rare for Napoli to score at home. When Toni Kroos scored early on when Bayern visited here, it was the first time in just over 9.5 hours that Napoli actually conceded a goal at home in European competition, so no mean feat for City to score in this arena. As Zabaleta comes forward on the right hand side, back towards Silva midway through the Napoli half. It's a left-footed diagonal ball, and De Santis will claim that one as Dzeko made a run towards the 6-yard area. It's an early release by the Napoli goalkeeper. Here is Hamsik, just short of the halfway line. Shortening field is Inler. The Swiss international will spread play, and De Sena, formerly of Liverpool, comes forward. Poor ball by De Sena. Liverpool supporters won't be surprised to hear that, as Milner and City now maybe looking to break. Balotelli has popped up on the right hand side. Silva is out in space on the left, and Balotelli will look to find him with a crossfield ball. Oh, what control by Silva, killed it instantly. Kolarov on the overlap, drills it in, strikes the knees of the goalkeeper, and it just wouldn't run towards Dzeko, who is inside the 6-yard area. Balotelli has stayed down, but what control from Silva, outrageous.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic touch, just killed it dead, then waited for Kolarov to go on the overlap. Delightfully weighted pass into him, and again Kolarov maybe a touch greedy, driving it at the near post. Really went for raw power to beat the keeper, but he did well, got down and saved it. But Balotelli seems to have some sort of problem, and well, he looks to be struggling.
He's not allergic to the grass, is he? He was in Kiev, wasn't he, last year in the Europa League?
Well, that was one of the strangest incidents in football that we've ever seen, I think, with an itchy eye or whatever was going on. But I'm not sure what he's doing, but certainly there was no one around him. It wasn't a challenge. Maybe whether he's just tweaked a hamstring or a thigh when he hit that crossfield ball, perhaps.
The glow of a flare in the gangway away to our left as the Napoli supporters rather anxiously watch on. Manchester City with Balotelli, who appears to have recovered the way he delivered that cross from the right-hand side. To be collected by Silva, who's he's turning Maggio inside and out there. And he's won a corner with Silva. Maggio didn't know whether he was coming or going. Corner kick to Manchester City, who at the moment are the better of the two teams.
And this is why, because they're suddenly starting to play a little bit more attacking football. They've got Silva on the ball more, they've got Balotelli on the ball, and suddenly they're starting to say, actually, we believe in ourselves now, we've got back into the game, let's go and attack Napoli. And that's what they do best. City are far better when they come forward than when they sit back and try and defend.
Just over 60 seconds then to go to half-time. Still one apiece here in Naples. Corner to Manchester City, far side to left. It's swung over, and it was Dzeko who was stooping, going a little bit away from goal, and his header dropped over De Santis, and it'll be a goal kick to Napoli. You sense that Napoli need to regroup.
Well, I think Mancini will be delighted after the start that they had, and Napoli created 6 or 7 really good chances, and Joe Hart's goal was under a little bit of threat for maybe the first half hour. City have clawed their way back into this game, and now they look a bit more comfortable, they look a bit stronger. I think half-time needs to come really for both teams. It's certainly not the wind out of the sails of the Napoli sails, and City really have to realise that 1-1 away from home is a decent result, but they've been better in the last 10 minutes because they've attacked. That's what they're good at. They've got to keep doing it.
Napoli, as we're about to see how much added on time we'll have here. The fourth official is just adjusting that electronic board down in front of us. We're a long way back with the athletics track separating this main stand from the pitch in Italy's third largest stadium, and they have a throw, Napoli, on this left-hand side. We're now into the additional minutes, so just 60 seconds to go here on 5 Live. 1-1, and here is Maggio. It's forward, and then the move breaks down on that right-hand side. A combination of Campagnaro and Maggio guilty, and Manchester City will be awarded a throw just up from the corner flag, so they're still deep inside their own half. and eventually they will clear. It's headed back, and Lescott should marshal this ball out for a goal kick. But there's that element of control now that Manchester City have in this game that you couldn't necessarily say in the first 20 minutes.
First 20-30 minutes, I thought they were all over the place. Whether the crowd got them a little bit, maybe looked a little bit intimidated, a little bit nervous. They were giving, even the likes of Silva and Yaya Toure were giving the ball away far too easily, and they were getting hit constantly on the counter-attack. Lavezzi, Cavani and Hamsik were causing all sorts of problems. City have dragged themselves back in it from that tap-in from Balotelli, who's still down, clutching he's clutching his head or his thigh, I'm not quite sure. He's obviously got one or two problems, but City far more comfortable, and I think Mancini will be delighted that they've managed to go in at 1-1.
Yes, Balotelli is struggling. A physio has just gone across to check on him. He's on his haunches really, as Balotelli is now gingerly walking off the field, so it'll be interesting to see if Manchester City's goal scorer reappears for the start of the second half. In fact, Balotelli seems to be in a little bit of distress there in the centre circle. So that's one to watch for at the start of the second half, but it's his equaliser that could well be priceless for what is an intriguing group in Group A, with Bayern Munich winning against Villarreal by 2-0. 1-1 here in Naples. Napoli 1, Manchester City 1.
What a great noise in Italy there, back for the second half. 1-1 here at half-time at Old Trafford. The details in a second, but Hamish Marshall, little bit of a surprise, maybe on the cards at Stourbridge in the Cup.
They lead Plymouth by 1-0, and as you say, Mark, the giant killing is well and truly on. Paul McConnors headed home from a corner 7 minutes after the break for what is, it has to be said, a deserved lead. And remember, Plymouth are down to 10 men, so the Evo Stick league side, they're well and truly on for a shot tonight.
Half-time then here at Old Trafford, 1-1 between Manchester United and Benfica. Conor McNamara with all the details.
Yeah, it's a good game this, good test for Manchester United this evening. Benfica are slick in midfield. Witsel, Gaitan and Aymar, they're all clever players. At the back, Benfica are strong, they're sometimes brutal with their tackling. The Portuguese team did get the perfect start when Phil Jones sliced into his own net. There were only 3 minutes on the clock. It took Manchester United half an hour to register their first attempt on target, but when it came, it resulted in a goal. Dimitar Berbatov enjoying a rare start tonight. He produced a perfectly gentle touch to glance the ball into the net. If that header had been any firmer, he wouldn't have scored. It could be a good second half to come here. It's Manchester United 1, Benfica 1.
Pat Nevin, Pat, we often associate the Champions League with rather cagey affairs. This has been more Premier League, blood and guts, some attacking both ends, some serious tackling going on as well.
Exactly, I'm delighted with the referee. He's let so much go. I mean, they'll get complaints for the manager, no doubt. Sir Alec will be a bit annoyed about it, but you're absolutely right. The game has flowed and he's allowed it to flow, and players generally accept that and think, okay, it's going to be that kind of game, let's go on with it. It's been as enjoyable a first half as I've seen this season. I think it's been great. Both teams have been at it. And I think on points, probably Benfica slightly ahead at the start of this game. It took Manchester United 20-25 minutes to waken up. When they did waken up, particularly when Berbatov, with I think it was his first touch of the game when he scored the goal, the equaliser. But I think before that, when Nani started coming on to a game, and that really opened it up. But I have to say, I'm cooing over the midfield. Conor mentioned it there, but Witsel, what a player he is in centre midfield, Belgian midfield player. Gaitan, he's been brilliant. He made the goal that put through his own net by Jones, but all the way through that midfield, very, very impressed with him. Very open game, very enjoyable game, and nothing like a Champions League within the league stages. This looks like a knockout game.
You would have seen a bit of Benfica last season when they're in the Europa League. They have come here with no inferiority complex at all.
That showed from the first seconds of the game. They just chased on Manchester United, didn't let any players settle on the ball. A lot of it's got to do with the fact, if you look through that Benfica team, I mean, there's not a Portuguese player in that team. There's 4 Brazilians, there's 3 Argentinians, there's Uruguayan, there's a couple of Spaniards as well. I mean, they're guys that are playing at the top level, and they're very, very good players. But in particular, that midfield, Javi Garcia, who we had a little chat about before the game, as a sitting midfield, I don't think you'll see very many as good as him. To explain to listeners what he's like Martin Keown stuck as a central midfield player. He's like a rash. He's all over you. He's tackling everything that's in sight, and he's got great energy and great ability, and decent pace as well. So all the way through that team, very, very impressed with him. Absolute stick on. More goals in the second half.
Well, terrific second half to come, both in Italy and here in Manchester as well. The other half times in the Champions League. Bayern Munich 2, Villarreal 0. That's in Manchester City's group. Group B, result earlier, CSK Moscow 0, Lille 2. Joe Cole in action for Lille this evening. Trabzonspor 1, Inter Milan 1. Now, Manchester United's group, Basel 3-0 up at Galatz, makes the second half here very interesting indeed, with Manchester United's last game away in Switzerland. Group D, Lyon 0, Ajax 0, and Real Madrid 4, Dynamo Zagreb 0. We've been talking about how good Barcelona are this season. Real Madrid no slouches either, 4-0 up there. Right, to the Championship, Birmingham and Burnley, Ian Brown.
And difficult to believe Birmingham are just the 1-0 up at half-time here. Such has been their dominance. They started ideally with a goal inside a couple of minutes. Jean Beausejour slotting in after Burke's shot had been touched onto the bar. Since then, though, for Birmingham, Zigic has missed with 2 very clear-cut headers. And when Zigic unselfishly set up Marlon King, it looked odds-on a tap-in goal for the Birmingham number 9, but King steered it wide. Burnley have been poor, unable to get into the game so far, but Birmingham rued their missed chances here on Saturday against Peterborough. I wonder if they could be bitten again. Half-time, Birmingham 1, Burnley 0.
And staying in the same part of the world at the Ricoh Arena, David Oates.
Coventry 0, Cardiff City 0. Not a bad game though, and Coventry perhaps surprisingly the better side. They had 3 really good chances in a 6-minute spell. Platt with a clever header setting up Jutkiewicz, whose low shot went just past the post. Then Platt with a header from Christie's flighted cross. That just a foot wide too. And then Platt heading wide again from Hussey's cross from the left. Those were sandwiched between a couple of Cardiff opportunities at Kenny Miller whistling a 20-yarder just over the bar, and Whittingham then just before half-time having a shot clawed behind by Murphy. I think that's the only save either keepers had to make. Coventry 0, Cardiff 0.
In the Scottish Cup, Montrose 0, Ayr 1 at half-time. In the FA Cup first round replays, Oxford City and Redbridge, Mike Stewell.
Still 3 minutes to go in the first half here. We had a delayed start. Oxford City 1, Redbridge 0. The goal scored just before the 20-minute mark by Lee Steele, who drove in from close range after a high ball was lofted into the Redbridge penalty area. Prior to that, Redbridge had the better chances, but since the goal, Oxford have had 2 headers tipped over by the nephew of Tony Adams, Adam Rafis. Just approaching half-time, Oxford City 1, Redbridge 0.
Aldershot 2, Maidenhead 0, Gillingham 1, Bournemouth 0, and just to reiterate, Stourbridge 1, Plymouth 0 in the FA Cup. All the other games 0-0, Grimsby Port Vale, Scunthorpe AFC Wimbledon, Southend Preston, Tamworth Hinckley and Wrexham Cambridge. Just before we go to the tennis, just in a replay of the header from Berbatov which made it 1-1, Pat, he is offside, not by a lot, but he's offside.
Yeah, he's offside, but to be honest, I don't see an assistant referee or anyone spotting that one unless he's got technology and 3 replays of it, so no complaints towards the officials, just a little bit unlucky for Benfica.
1-1 half-time here at Old Trafford. 1-1 Napoli, Manchester City. Second half to come from Italy, and Federer Nadal is live on Sports Extra, and a break of serve, Jonathan Overend.
4-2 Federer. Mark, you know what the atmosphere is like at Wimbledon when Nadal plays Federer. Well, add another 2,000 spectators and put a roof on it, and that's what we've got tonight. It's a fantastic atmosphere here, and Federer's playing superbly early on. He's really trying to dictate behind his forehand, and that's what created 3 break points in the last game. Nadal slipping to love 40, and then a tremendous rally ensued. It was classic Roger and Rafa from over the years, trading from the back of the court. Federer stepping in, took his chance. Nadal going wide cross court, and it's Federer with the first blow. He leads 4-2 first set.
Jonathan, bearing in mind Andy Murray's withdrawal and his injury, are these two full of vim and vigour at the end of a long season?
Yeah, Nadal wasn't feeling particularly perky the other day when he had a stomach upset and had to leave the court, but he's looking a lot better today, and Federer fighting fit after taking that long period off over the Asian swing. Missed that completely, 6 weeks off, and it's paying dividends now. Back-to-back titles in Basel and Paris, and probably now the favourite to win here in London.
Thank you very much. It's live on Sports Extra if you want Federer Nadal. Second half to come from Italy after the news at 20-9 with Kate Williams.
Online at bbc.co.uk/5live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Rubber bullets and tear gas have been fired on the streets of Cairo as thousands of people gather in Tahrir Square to protest against Egypt's military leadership. Hugh Sykes has just sent this report from nearby Falak Square.
That's the police firing towards the crowd in the dark here in central Cairo. Hundreds of people have retreated down the side street here. Those are firecrackers being fired towards the police by the crowd.
Tonight, the Military Ruling Council has announced that the presidential election will take place before the end of June. Not enough to quell the protests, says Hugh.
They want the military authorities here to resign now. They want General Tantawi to go now. They think that he is Mubarak Mark II. They think there has been no change. The revolution went to sleep. Well, now it's waking up again, and it's very violent here now.
Steve Coogan has told the Leveson inquiry into media ethics that he felt the newspapers would turn on him now he's spoken out. He said he believed that was the reason more people hadn't come forward.
Many other celebrities, for want of a better word, have told me that they agree with me and they'd like to come here, but they don't have the stomach for it, and they fear what will happen. Ironically, because of the stories that have been run about me, most of my closet is empty of skeletons.
13 members of a gang on Merseyside have been sentenced to a combined total of 82 years in prison. The gang was selling Class A drugs near schools in Liverpool. Shares in Thomas Cook have fallen 75% after it warned it would have to ask for more help from its banks. The company's insisted it's business as usual and customers' holidays are safe. And 2 thieves who forgot to put petrol in their getaway car have admitted stealing alcohol from an Asda in Greater Manchester. Rose Devlin and Denise Egan were caught on CCTV pushing their vehicle to a petrol station. On the road, severe delays of around an hour on the M1 northbound. That's after an earlier accident between junctions 15 and 16 for Northampton and Daventry. The queues are back to junction 14 for Milton Keynes. And in Leicestershire, the A42, that's got 1 lane blocked between junctions 12 and 13 for Ashby de la Zouche. Kate Williams, 5 Live Travel.
The BBC is proposing changes to some of its services to adapt to a new funding settlement. As the corporation's governing body, the BBC Trust would like to know what you think. To find out more, click bbc.co.uk/BBC Trust or call 0800 0680 116. Calls are free from most landlines, but some networks and mobile operators may charge. The Trust's role is to get the best out of the BBC for licence fee payers, and this is your chance to have your say. bbc.co.uk/BBC Trust or call 0800 0680 116.
This is 5 Live Sports.
The Champions League with Mark Pugach.
Well, we're here at Old Trafford this evening, and David Beckham today has ruled out a return to the Premier League. Beckham's contract at LA Galaxy ends in December, and he's been heavily linked with a move to Paris Saint-Germain.
I'm still a Galaxy player till the end of December, and, you know, I've got a decision to make. I honestly haven't made one yet. I've got options, which is, you know, surprising at my age to still have, you know, a couple of big European clubs still after me. But, you know, I've had such an amazing time living here in California. I've got so many friends, and the teammates that I play with are really incredible people. So, you know, who's to say I might still be here next year playing, but I need to sit down with the family and my friends and decide what's best for me. I love playing wherever I've played. You know, I've obviously played in Manchester, played in Spain, played in Milan, played in America, and I've enjoyed everywhere I've played. It doesn't really matter where I finish my career, but I always said, you know, I've played for the biggest club in my eyes in England, and, you know, I couldn't see myself playing in another English shirt.
Some news from Chelsea today. Andre Villas-Boas has been fined £12,000 following comments he made about referee Chris Foy in the defeat at Queen's Park Rangers last month. And the heart owner Vladimir Romanov wants £50 million as he seeks a buyer for the Tynecastle club. We're underway in the second half here at Old Trafford. It's 1-1 at half-time. Pat Nevin, Paddy said 25 million for the squad, 25 million for the land at Tynecastle. 50 million in this market, good luck.
Where does he come from? It's not Lithuania, it's Cloud Cuckoo land. Not a hope in the world. That £30 million worth of debt owed to his bank, it has to be said. But not, there's 2 bids for Hearts at the moment. They are not going to pay 5 million, never mind 50.
And from Hearts, talk to Stourbridge. 1 up on Plymouth. Last we heard from Hamish Marshall.
They still are. They've got 1 foot in the second round of the FA Cup for the first time in their history. Paul McCohen's header early in the second half is their just reward, and Leon Broadhurst somehow headed over from 6 yards out with the goal gaping. Otherwise this one will be over now. We've got 21 minutes to go, and it's Stourbridge 1, Plymouth 0.
And coming towards the end of the first set at the O2, Federer and Nadal. Jonathan Overend.
Federer 5-2 ahead. This is their, 26th career meeting. Incredible, really, these two. And the stars are out in force. I've seen David Hay, I've seen Luka Modric sitting courtside as well, supporting these two. But Federer's playing some fine tennis early on here, really taking the game to Nadal, stepping in, stepping up the court and striking hard through his forehand. And it's 5-3 Federer now, Nadal just holding on there. So Federer serving for the first set.
And half-time, Oxford City 1, Redbridge 0, the half-time score there from Oxford. Let's go back to Italy then, have a word with Danny Mills before the second half gets underway. Danny, you felt a few of the City players might have even been a little bit intimidated by what they had in front of them in the first 45.
Yeah, and I think certainly the first 20 minutes or so, even 30 minutes, I think maybe that was the case. They looked a little bit nervous, a little bit shaky at times, gave the ball away far too often, and even the likes of Silva and Yaya Toure were giving it away, and they get hit on the counter-attack time after time and allowed Napoli far too many chances, 7 or 8 really good chances, and of course the goal came. They've settled down since they scored the goal, since Balotelli's tap-in. So that's been good for them. I think Mancini will want them to carry on in the same vein and be a little bit more attacking. I think that's when they're strongest, when they're attacking teams and getting other teams on the back foot.
All right, John, 1-1 here in Manchester. Manchester United Benfica, second half has just started. Same with you there in Naples.
Yes, welcome back to southwest Italy. 5 Live commentary team here in the lovely city of Naples. It is lovely. It's certainly a beautiful place to come to. Crazy but beautiful, you might call it. I can see Balotelli has emerged for the second half, and he's the last one out of the tunnel. They come out of a hole in the ground behind the goal over the top of the advertising hoardings to our left. So he, even though he was receiving treatment at the end of the first half, Manchester City's goal scorer Mario Balotelli, his 9th goal of the season, is out there to begin the second half. So Napoli's team unchanged to De Sanctis in goal, a back three of Campagnaro, Cannavaro and Aronica, and then a line of 4, Maggio, Gargano, Inler and Dossena, and then Hamsik and Lavezzi behind Cavani. And the Manchester City side tonight, Hart in goal, Zabaleta, Kompany, Lescott and Kolarov. Second half begins now. Manchester City in the red and black get it underway. The City midfield, Milner, Yaya Toure and De Jong, with Silva, Balotelli and Dzeko. And it is 1-1 after Napoli took the lead, just as they did in Manchester in the earlier group game, but City equalising a good deal quicker than they did in the home game through Balotelli. So City defending, and Zabaleta takes the ball down in his full-back position as the cross came over from the left-hand side from Lavezzi, and now Dzeko heads it down to Silva. Thought Silva was quite quiet in the first half, but a lovely touch for the City goal after it was cleared straight to him really badly by Aronica, the defender, but hit straight at him at pace. Silva took it down, left side of the penalty area, got a snapshot in, goalkeeper made the save, and Balotelli... It's okay, we're all right here, don't worry. Balotelli won't score an easier goal than that this season, just had to tap it into the net. So, Danny Mills with us here, played in the Champions League for Leeds United, and Danny's watching Yaya Toure losing possession, and Napoli coming forward. Cavani couldn't find the pass back to Lavezzi on the edge of the area, and that was dangerous for a moment. And Yaya Toure now fouled, and the free kick to City. Danny.
Well, I think, the second half has started very much like the first half. Napoli have really come out strong. They've tried to attack, and they're getting right up against City players. They're being quite aggressive, trying to, get stuck into them, get as many tackles in, get bodies around people, nudge them, push them as best they can, and that's disrupting City.
Gargano's ball from centre field, the Uruguayan, is dealt with well actually by Lescott, who turns and gives it back to Hart. The noise has begun again in the second period. There are banners and flags all around the bottom end of the top tier, flags being waved in the end to our right and to our left, and it is dry now after what's been a changeable day, but when it was at its clearest, we had a fantastic view, didn't we, of Vesuvius, which is just to the south of the city. And I must say it is much closer to the city than I ever expected it was. Milner loses possession in centre field. Played over the top by Hamsik, but it will skid on, I think, over the damp surface and away from Lavezzi, who collides with Zabaleta, who then bounces into the advertising hoardings and gets a little pat on the back from his fellow Argentine international. Goal kick to Manchester City. Did make us wonder today when the last time was that Vesuvius erupted. Do you have any idea?
I believe it might have been 1944, John.
Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. I'm impressed at your knowledge. Hart.
I believe it seriously erupted in 79 AD, I think, when Pompeii was destroyed.
Pompeii also went up then. That was was it? Hart takes the goal kick and Kolarov plays it back to Lescott, who then side foots it forward to Balotelli, who tries a clever flick, and it's not so clever because it doesn't work. And then Inler is able to tidy up for the blue shirts of Napoli. It's fired forward by Cannavaro, but headed away by Company on the edge of his area, and then forward from De Jong, but that again is given away. And now here's Cavani running from deep with the long black hair, the Uruguayan. Now to Lavezzi, who's up against Zabaleta, and it's nice on the overlap. Played about Cavani with a shot, and it's into the net. Napoli are back in front. Manchester City will have to come from behind again, and once again it is Edinson Cavani who scored his third goal against City in these two games. And now Napoli 2, Manchester City 1.
Well, again, it was a very well-worked goal. Some nice passes out wide on the left-hand side. Not quite sure where Zabaleta was. I think he got his position in a little bit wrong as the cross came in. It's a driven low cross. And Cavani, really a fantastic finish for anybody watching. That's how to put the ball away. He just let the ball hit his foot, guided it into the bottom corner. Joe Hart at full stretch, no real chance with that one. Yes, at fault for the first goal, but certainly not the second. But again, City, especially in European football this season, have got defensive frailties, and it's because they've sat back and allowed Napoli to come onto them again.
Yep, sluggish start to the second half. So that as Manchester City tried to step it up. Now Balotelli, left side of the box. Challenge comes in, it's a good one as well. A good one from Campagnaro, and he's going to bring it forward now. He's got Cavani, who's on a hat-trick in this game alone. And Cavani manages to have time there to sweep his hair out of his eyes before he sends the pass over to the left-hand side to De Sena, who was involved in the goal. De Sena's cut back to Cavani that the Uruguayan dispatched into the back of the net. So 2-1 to Napoli on BBC 5 Live here in Italy.
Well, I know they've been struggling in the league somewhat. You know, their record in the league so far, you know, at the last 10 games they've only won 4, lost 3 of them. It's not been fantastic, but they seem to raise their game.
Yeah, they come again, and it's a turn and a shot from Hamsik that hits Lescott, and then it's headed goalwards again by Hamsik, but over the top of the Manchester City bar. Very nearly cut open again, Manchester City.
Again, you can listen to the noise. You know, these fans are right behind their team, giving it everything. Napoli certainly seem to raise their game. You know, and those players, Hamsik, Cavani, Lavezzi as well, have been fantastic. You know, not an easy day either, especially for Hamsik, who's obviously had personal issues to worry about, but it's put them behind him, and the front three, I think, have been magnificent for Napoli.
Yeah, the story was that his wife was carjacked earlier today, Marek Hamsik. So 2-1 to Napoli in the Champions League on 5 Live. Still 1-1 at Old Trafford between Manchester United and Benfica. City having to defend. And Lavezzi gives it square. And Inler with a shot that is wide by 4 or 5 yards actually of Joe Hart's goal. So a goal kick. And there's a goal in the Championship at Coventry, David Oates.
And it's gone the way of Cardiff City. It's Coventry 0, Cardiff 1. A terrific strike, another terrific strike I should say, from Peter Whittingham, 25 yards out after a Coventry clearance. Fell kindly at his feet. It's tough on the home side, I have to say, but what a magnificent goal from Whittingham. Coventry 0, Cardiff 1.
And another goal in the Birmingham-Burnley game too, Ian Brown.
And it's an equaliser for Burnley. Birmingham 1, Burnley 1. Marvin Bartley, the youngster, with a rattling shot from the edge of the area, took a big deflection beyond Boaz Myhill, but Burnley, despite being outplayed throughout the first half, are level at 1-1.
In this group, Villarreal have got a goal back against Bayern Munich, but the Germans still lead by 2-1. We flew over the Allianz Arena last night, didn't we, on our mini tour of Europe because of the fog. And as ever, wonderful it looked, the arena glowing in red, as I presume Villarreal trained there. And also a goal to report in the FA Cup. We'll tell you about it in a moment. But Napoli coming forward, but the pass from Lavezzi runs through for a goal kick to Manchester City. And it has come in the Stourbridge Plymouth game. Hamish Marshall.
Stourbridge 2, not Plymouth 0. Surely it's all over now. Sean Evans shot home after Ryan Rowe's effort was parried by the Plymouth keeper. The non-league side have got 1 foot in round 2.
And while the football continues on 5 Live, the tennis is over on 5 Live Sports Extra. Nadal against Federer. And here's Jonathan Overend with the latest.
And the old man still got it. 30 years of age, Roger Federer leads Nadal, a relative whippersnapper, by a set and now a break. 6-3, Federer won the first, and he's won the opening game on the Nadal serve with a collection of heavy-hitting forehands. Federer knows he's got the best forehand in the game, so he's deciding now just to go out there, slam it, and trust that it's going to go in more times than miss. It worked for him there, and it's worked for him in this match so far. Federer leads by a set and a break.
As I say, the commentary continues on 5 Live Sports Extra. Real Madrid are continuing their steamrolling of Dinamo Zagreb. They're 5-0 up. And now Balotelli has conceded a free kick, and I think it was his reaction that has resulted in referee Scomina running across and showing him the yellow card, the first booking of the game.
Yeah, it was definitely dissent. Again, every time Balotelli gets the ball, 2 or 3 Napoli players around him snapping at his ankles, really trying to annoy him, upset him, and that's what happened. The referee, gave a free kick, which maybe was a little bit harsh. He reacted badly, and much to the crowd's pleasure, gave him a yellow card.
Yes, they enjoyed that, the home supporters. Everything's going their way at the moment. 2-1, Napoli lead. And if it stays like this, if Manchester City were to lose this game, then Napoli would go ahead of them in this group table. Bayern Munich currently the leaders of the section with 10 points and winning at home against Villarreal. But it means that going into the final game at home against Bayern Munich, who by that time may already be qualified, but City would be in 3rd place in the section. It is worrying for them.
It was always going to be a tough game, having your last game against Bayern Munich, and well, the last thing that City need, with Villarreal coming back into it, the last thing they need is for Villarreal to get a draw, and then obviously Bayern Munich have to win in the ground.
Oh, nice ball from Milner, taken down by Silva on the right-hand side. Silva now to the right, and the cross comes in from Zabaleta. I don't know if it took a deflection. The challenge came in on him, but either it was deflected or just hit straight at goalkeeper De Sanctis, who was able to take it down. Bournemouth have equalised at Gillingham in the FA Cup. League 1 Bournemouth against League 2 Gillingham. And the ball is played forward from the back by Cannavaro, the Napoli captain. And then a foul on Tessena by Silva, who protests his innocence, but the free kick has already been given Napoli's way. So, are we thinking about a Manchester City change then, with 10 minutes played in the second half? You can answer that in a moment, because there's been another goal at Old Trafford. Conor McNamara.
Manchester United in front for the first time tonight. Manchester United 2, Benfica 1. Very well worked goal this. It's Darren Fletcher who scored it. Evra with a super cross into the penalty area. Fletcher needed 2 attempts to stab it past the goalkeeper, but he got it into the back of the net, and it's Manchester United 2, Benfica 1.
So, a Manchester City change. Substitutes Johnson, Savic, Aguero, Barry, Nasri and Clichy.
Well, it seems to be Nasri and Aguero that are doing the most vigorous warm-ups. A double substitution would certainly be brave at this stage. But I think City are so much better when they go out and attack teams. Again, they came out second half with, an air of negativity about themselves. And within the first 10 minutes of the second half, they'd allowed Napoli to have 3 or 4 decent efforts on goal. And you cannot simply do that, even against what is supposedly a poor Italian Serie A side. In the Champions League, they've certainly been fantastic.
I think it's going to be Napoli who are going to make the first change, and it's Gemaili, the Swiss international, who is going to come on. They've had to get that sorted out fairly quickly, because I think it's his fellow Swiss international, Gökhan Inler, who's got a problem. At least he's off the field at the moment, so Napoli currently playing with 10 men. 2-1 Napoli lead against Manchester City. And another goal at Old Trafford. Connor.
Back on level terms, Manchester United's lead did not last very long. Pablo Aimar has made it 2-2, similar to the Fletcher goal in that the ball is bundled into the net from close range. David De Gea making complaints to the referee, but the goal stands, and it's Manchester United 2, Benfica 2.
And in the FA Cup, the League Two leaders Southend are in front against League One Preston. 1-0 to Southend at Roots Hall. City coming forward, ball headed away to Silva, 25 yards out, tries for a drop volley, chested it down and hit it, but it sailed over the top of the bar and wide. Don't think Napoli have made the, no, they haven't made the change just yet, and in actual fact Jamaili was ordered to put his Champions League bib back on to adhere presumably to the UEFA rules and regulations, and now the change is being made, so that's a straight swap. So we've got just over half an hour to play, and Manchester City here are facing the possibility of their Champions League future really being in the balance going into the final game in the group. And with Manchester City at the moment, qualification for the latter stages has just taken on a little extra important after the announcement of those financial losses last week, because the talk was that there would be the Champions League revenue, and obviously that would come to an end were they to go out of the competition. Here's Lavezzi on the left-hand side. Lavezzi with a run through between Yaya Toure and Milner, but Kompany stepped forward and made the challenge. And obviously, when I'm talking about this, the finances, are not, of a primary concern in terms of the funds that they have, but it's all about the fair play regulations, the financial fair play regulations.
Of course it is, and if City drop into the Europa League, it would almost be disastrous. They've been fantastic in the Premier League this season, but in European football so far, I think they've really struggled.
But it's over the top of Dzeko. Danny, sorry.
So I think they've really struggled in European football so far this season. They really haven't found their feet. They were fortunate against Villarreal. Certainly in one of their games, got pulled apart by Bayern Munich, and really tonight haven't looked anywhere near their Premier League best.
No, this unbeaten run, this winning run could be coming to an end, but City with it. A flick by Yaya Toure actually reaches Milner on the right hand side, but his cross is deflected and cleared away out for a throw. Phone lines are now open, by the way. 0500 909 693, or you can text on 85058. We'll take calls, and we'll have plenty of interviews as well, I would suspect, from all of the games that have been taking place tonight. And Grimsby are winning 1-0 against Port Vale, so that's non-league Grimsby as they are now against Port Vale. Grimsby 1-0 up. Napoli 2, Manchester City 1, and Manchester United 2, Benfica 2. But a free kick to City, which is taken short to Milner, and Milner now clips it in left foot, and it's over the top of Dzeko, and it evades Balotelli at the far post as well, and is through for a goal kick.
Much better from Manchester City. The quick free kick just caught everyone slightly unawares, and
they're complaining about this, Danny. Kompany, they and Silva as well, they think that Dzeko was pushed over there inside the penalty area, and the referee's got his yellow card out here, and he's showing it to Silva, and that's for dissent too.
I'm not sure, is that for the descent or for the dive? I'm not quite sure which it's for, but it was better, much better from City. They got the ball down, played quickly, and tried to catch Napoli unawares.
I think it was for dissent. I think it was for what Silva had to say. I think City felt they had a case for a penalty there, not given. Napoli leading 2-1. Back to the tennis, Jonathan Overend.
Just to say, John, that anyone who suspects Roger Federer might be past his best needs to maybe take a little sneak at what's happening here tonight. He is dishing out a thorough beating of Rafa Nadal. He leads by a set to love, and it's now 3-love Federer with a double break of serve in the second. And poor old Nadal, don't normally feel sorry for him. He's done all right, hasn't he? But he's gone all day to the Federer forehand and has been beaten by that. Now he's going all day to the Federer backhand, and he's getting beaten by that as well. Federer leads by a set and a double break.
Dzeko here with a burst through the inside left position, but the challenge came in from Cannavaro to take it away from him. Dzeko looked as though he had a little bit of a cause behind him there, having not been awarded the penalty. Lescott, just signs that Napoli are beginning to sit back here. Manchester City now with more of the possession. Ball forward from Lescott, though, is easily cleared away downfield. Wrexham have taken the lead against Cambridge in the FA Cup. Cambridge United So Wrexham 1-0 up. And a goal at Coventry, David Oates.
An equaliser for the home side on the left back. Hussey's pinpoint cross and headed in off the crossbar and over the line, according to the linesman, by Lukas Jutkiewicz. Coventry 1, Cardiff 1.
And it is still Birmingham 1, Burnley 1 in the night's only other game in the Championship. Let me just remind you that tomorrow night we'll be in Germany on 5 Live to bring you commentary on Chelsea's game against Bayer Leverkusen. And Mark Pugac will be presenting the programme from Arsenal, where they play Borussia Dortmund. Here now Zabaleta plays the ball across, and it's slid by Balotelli wide. He was in an offside position. It's Kolarov's ball across from the left-hand side, but Balotelli had just strayed into an offside position, so if he put it in the net, it wouldn't have counted.
But again, City, when they attack, they look very, very dangerous. Silva, Balotelli, Dzeko hasn't really been in the game tonight. I think if there's going to be a change, I think maybe he'll come off. He hasn't looked his sharp and unusual self. But City have got to do this. They've got to take a little bit of a gamble, because if they lose this, with Bayern Munich coming in the final game, they're going to find it very, very difficult to qualify.
Danny Mills with us here in Italy on 5 Live in the huge Stadio San Paolo in front of 60,000 people, one of whom has just lit a red flare in the end to our right, and people are hanging on to the top of the upper tier there. Health and safety would have an absolute field day back home, but for some reason here in Italy and various other places around Europe, it's absolutely fine. Here now they come with Maggio down the right hand side, and his ball across, Hart struggling, pushed it away, and then is able to get up and gather it at the second attempt. And Lavezzi was sliding in at the near post, and that could have gone anywhere off Joe Hart, who was at fault for the first goal that Napoli scored here. But now City on the counter-attack. Dzeko, though, has his progress interrupted by Cannavaro, who slides across to put it out of play.
Well done, Joe Hart there. He was at full stretch, had to try and get something on that cross. Really had a bit of a gamble, came diving out, sort of directly out of his goal, got a good hand on it, and really earned a little bit of luck from that, and really was able to grab it again very, very quickly.
Silva now, Zabaleta with a cross from the right, but it's interrupted by Aronica. He got there first to head it down and out of play on the right-hand side. So 2-1 to Napoli here against Manchester City. And the latest on Manchester United comes from Conor McNamara.
It's Manchester United 2, Benfica 2, Berbatov and Fletcher for Manchester United, an own goal from Phil Jones and a close-range blast from Pablo Aimar for Benfica. These two also drew when they met in Lisbon in September. Manchester United 2, Benfica 2.
Manchester United's next match is a 5 Live commentary game. That's the 3 o'clock game against Newcastle this coming Saturday. Manchester City's next game is a 5 Live commentary match. The game at Anfield on Sunday, the 4 o'clock match. Cavani now plays it forward, but Lavezzi in an offside position. And that'll be a test for Manchester City as well. With Liverpool, obviously, they wouldn't wish it this way, but they don't have any commitments this week. And Manchester City have had the journey here to Naples, and it's been a tough game that they've been in here tonight, Danny. They know all about it.
But again, I have to question Roberto Mancini's not just his tactics, but also his lineup. Leaving the likes of Mika Richards out, who's been absolutely magnificent this season, has done incredibly well. He gave him all the plaudits at the weekend, said how great he was, and now has completely left him out of the team, and it disrupts teams. You've got to be defensively sound, and playing the same back four week in, week out is absolutely vital.
Ball over the top now that Company was struggling with for a moment. Lavezzi running behind him, but he stretched and he made it, Company, and cleared it, and it's out for a throw to City 10 yards inside their own half. De Jong will come short.
He's not been very effective either, I don't think, tonight, John. Nigel De Jong, he hasn't really been involved in the game. We've hardly mentioned his name at all. Hasn't been able to get into those positions to break things up and those sort of tackles, because the break on the counter-attack and the breaks that Napoli have come, they come at such pace.
Yaya Touré to Milner. Now it's to the left-hand side for Manchester City. Smoke from another flare drifts across from the left-hand side. Silva now might have just caught his man in centre midfield, Jamaili, but no free kick, and City have to defend anyway as the ball's cleared away downfield by Napoli. Almost halfway through the second half, Milner's off on a run down the left. Challenge comes in, but the ball bounces for Manchester City. Dzeko just next to where Walter Mazzari, the Napoli coach is standing with his hands on his hips. See David Platt just emerging from the Manchester City dugout. Real Madrid now 6-0 up on Dinamo Zagreb. Now City switch it to the right-hand side. Silva in a deep-lying position, back into the centre circle to De Jong, flicks it to his left, whistles from the home supporters. Long period of possession from City. Lescott just kept in by Dzeko, but gives it away with his pass, and we are halfway through the second half now on 5 Live here in Naples. Manchester City with real work to do here in the Champions League. They're 2-1 down, and he has Ian Dennis to full time.
Thank you, John. I had the balcony window open this lunchtime. I heard this kerfuffle outside amidst the blaring horns, which are incessant whenever you visit this city, Naples. Looked outside the window, and there was the squad of Manchester City, followed by a throng of people walking down the causeway to the Castel del Ovo, the egg castle, which legend has it that a sorcerer in medieval times laid a foundation of a magical egg. In the foundations of the castle, well, City need to come up with something magical here in the next 22 minutes or so, because their destiny is not in their own hands as far as the Champions League is concerned. There's Kolarov coming forward. Kolarov, of course, rescued them against Napoli at Eastland earlier on in the season. But Manchester City trailing by 2-1, and on the back foot now as the ball is played towards Lavezzi. Lavezzi into the penalty area. Lavezzi denied by Joe Hart. Saved by the legs of the Manchester City goalkeeper behind for a corner kick as Company had slipped. And Company, no wonder, goes to high-five his goalkeeper Joe Hart, because he kept City in this game.
Yet again, City caught on the counter-attack. Far too often it's happened. Fantastic save from Joe Hart. As you said, Company slipped over, got his feet completely wrong. Joe Hart made amends for that earlier error.
In swinging corner claimed by Joe Hart. Scunthorpe 0, Wimbledon 1. Wimbledon may well be away to Bradford City in round 2. Bayern Munich have restored their 2-goal advantage in the Alliance Arena against Villarreal, so they will be confirmed as Group A winners. Bayern Munich leading the Spanish side, who are pointless in Group A. Manchester City need an equaliser in the next 20 minutes. Here is Yaya Toure to Dzeko, with his back to goal, to Balotelli, inside towards Silva, better from City. Silva couldn't thread it through towards Dzeko in the inside left channel of the penalty area. Napoli just squeezed down the options as Manchester City are going to make a change, and Samir Nasri is going to be coming on. Danny Mills.
Well, again, positive change. De Jong coming off. I think Nasri, City have to attack. They have to start going forward. They do look so much better. I think Milner will drop into more of a holding role. Toure will push forward as well. And really City now, they've got to somehow get back into this game. They haven't really tested the keeper at all. I can only remember 1 or 2 chances.
Strong running by Lavezzi. Not a bad cross either. It was very well cut out. Stretching by Company, because Hamsik had just peeled away, and that was attack full of menace as far as Napoli were concerned, who lead by 2-1 as we go back to our tennis correspondent Jonathan Overend.
5 love Federer now. Triple break of serve in the second set. He is thrashing Nadal tonight. Absolutely awesome from Federer, about to serve for the match.
Commentary continues on 5 Live Sports Extra. Kolarov to Nasri. Kolarov to Nasri again, midway through the Napoli half. The former Arsenal player, who'll be used to playing in passionate stadiums, of course, from his time at Marseille. Feeds the ball towards Kolarov. First time cross in from the left-hand side is too deep. And it's a goal kick to Napoli. Full time now in the FA Cup. Stourbridge against Plymouth. Hamish Marshall.
A night to remember here as Stourbridge successfully bridged the 3-division gap between these clubs to win 2-0. The goals came from Paul McCone and Sean Evans in the second half, but to be honest, the winning margin should have been wider.
Stourbridge at home to Stevenage in round 2. Stevenage, of course, who last year knocked out Newcastle in the FA Cup third round. Other latest scores in the FA Cup: Aldershot still lead Maidenhead 2-0, Gillingham 1, Bournemouth 1, Grimsby lead Port Vale by a goal to nil, Oxford City 1, Redbridge 0, Scunthorpe 0, Wimbledon 1, Southend 1, Preston 0, Wrexham lead Cambridge United by a goal to nil. No goals between Tamworth and Hinckley. 5 Live Sport live in Naples, where Napoli leads City by 2-1, and it's the blue shirts coming forward of Napoli, the Italian side once more, playing from left to right. 2 goals from Cavani. as the fellow Uruguayan Gargano is almost caught in possession. In fact, he has lost it. Yaya Toure up towards Dzeko, out of play it goes for a City throw. We're going to be in for a very exciting 17 and 18 or so minutes, Danny Mills.
Yeah, I think City have just got to be careful they don't get caught again on the counter-attack as they start to push forward, start to get a little bit sort of nervous, if you like. They need to somehow get back into this, but so far Cavani, he's been the man of the night. He's got exceptional skill, fantastic pace. City have to remain fully concentrated. If he gets to 3-1, they're certainly out of it.
Well, they know all about him, of course. He scored at the Etihad Stadium early on this season. He had a fine season last year, 26 goals in Serie A last season. As City come forward with Yaya Toure midway through the Napoli half. Bit of space for Zabaleta, far side the right. Zabaleta pops over the cross, headed away by Maggio. The right wing back was tucked in. Header out from the edge of the penalty area as Aguero continues to warm up as well. What a story it would be for Sergio Aguero if he could salvage a point for Manchester City at the ground where, of course, his father-in-law is still revered for his success in the late 80s. Diego Maradona will be going to Old Trafford as we just watch this latest attack from Manchester City with Kolarov, but it loses momentum. So to Old Trafford, Manchester United, Benfica, Conor McNamara.
Manchester United 2, Benfica 2, and with Basel winning comfortably against Galatz in the group's other game tonight, a draw would be an unsatisfactory outcome here for Manchester United. Michael Carrick has been booked, he will miss the next game, and Benfica still look dangerous here on the attack. Manchester United 2, Benfica 2.
Here is Nasri. Nasri left-hand side for the red and black striped shirts of Manchester City. Behind him is Kolarov. Triangular passing patterns for Manchester City on the left-hand side, but Napoli still working hard. City have been forced back towards the halfway line. The deafening whistles inside the Stadio San Paolo for the possession that Manchester City are keeping, but they're playing in front of Napoli. There's been very little penetration. There's been very little width from City this evening. The City now come forward, and this is Nasri. Nasri chips the ball in towards the penalty area. Campagnaro with a header away. It's all over at the tennis. Jonathan Overend.
With Swiss perfection, Roger Federer has seen off Rafa Nadal in exactly 1 hour. 6-3, 6-love. Extraordinary. Federer brilliant tonight.
Basel now lead Galat by 3-1 in Romania. Gillingham have taken the lead at Priestfield in the FA Cup. Gillingham 2, Bournemouth 1. Manchester City behind here in Naples. Still level at Old Trafford. City in search of an equaliser. Campagnaro hooks the ball away from the penalty area away to our left. Under the very thin veil of haze from yet another flare that has been let off somewhere inside this stadium. The Napoli supporters are anxious as Zabaleta lays it out towards Milner. Midway through the Napoli half, Milner has a bit of space on that far side. Finds Silva, back out towards Milner. Milner right corner of the penalty area, works over the cross, takes a deflection. Campagnaro tucked in, heads the ball away. Back out towards Silva on the right hand side, just in from the touchline. Wriggles away from his marker. Silva's still going, looks to come inside. Good play by David Silva. Right corner of the penalty area, checked, falls to the floor with ease. And Napoli with Lavezzi, who good fleet of feet there from Lavezzi. Out towards Cavani with his 2 goals. Cavani looks for a diagonal ball. He was caught late, but what a pass out towards Hamsik. Hamsik away from Kolarov. Hamsik into the penalty area. Strikes the post. Strikes the base of the right-hand post. And the gentleman 2 seats away from me beats his fist in anger. That was a moment that keeps City not only in the game, but potentially in the Champions League.
Certainly for now it keeps them in it. You know, again, fantastic pass from Cavani, who's down on the far side. Toure's getting involved with something in the middle of the pitch. It's all going off here at the moment. Getting very, very exciting. The crowd aren't happy. Again, City incredibly lucky to be kept in this game. Really, Joe Hart beaten. And I think it came back off the post. I think they thought it had gone in. He didn't react, wasn't expecting it to come back off the post. And really, the disappointment, I think, from the Napoli fans and players was clear for everybody. I think Kompany's been booked in the middle of that, and rightly so. It was a very, very late tackle on Cavani, who's, for me, been certainly the best player. But City, very, very lucky to still be in this, and, well, getting more and more frustrated as the night goes on.
So Kompany shown a yellow card, the 3rd City player to be booked on what is a night where they have struggled here in Naples. Lescott knocks it down towards Kolarov to Milner, and time is running out. If it stays like this, their destiny will not be in their own hands as far as the Champions League is concerned. It's as simple as that. Nasri to Balotelli towards Milner now. Milner slips as he plays the ball forward, and Napoli will clear. Cavani stretching, just couldn't get there. Cut out by Company, and this is Yaya Toure in the centre circle. Nasri back towards the Ivorian on the halfway line. Milner wants the ball, but Yaya Toure will play the ball forward towards Balotelli. Balotelli's made the run. Terrific save by De Santis. Balotelli made a terrific run. A run that we've very rarely seen from City this evening, through the heart of the penalty area of Napoli. Took it first time right-footed. De Santis stood tall and beat the ball down into the ground. It was a chance. It was a very good save.
No, it was a brilliant ball from Yaya Toure. It was a sort of a defty little, almost a little 7-iron punch just over the top of the defence. Great touch.
Maggio round the back. Maggio brought down by Hart. The referee says he got the ball. Maggio lies face down on the penalty area. Chances at both ends. How was Maggio allowed to get round the back of the City defence?
Again, I've said all this season, I think City have defensive frailties. Just going back to that, it was a fantastic save at the other end from Sanctis. Magnificent. Certainly kept him in. At Balotelli was very unlucky. But at the other end, the City defence were nowhere. You know, it waltzed through. Again, Joe Hart, fair play to him, came out, made himself big. And again, it was a collision. I think the referee called that one right. But again, City causing themselves problems.
Balotelli brought down just outside the area, was he? The referee says no. Well, we are a long way away, but I've got to say that I thought Balotelli was brought down just outside the penalty area on that right corner for Manchester City, to the relief of everybody inside this fantastic arena who are of a Napoli persuasion. They'll be very relieved as Aguero is preparing to come on for Manchester City. Yesterday in the press conference, not surprisingly, he dominated a lot of the questions from the Neapolitan press. He says he would dream to do what Maradona achieved here in Napoli. He made, of course, the impact at the Etihad Stadium against Villarreal with a 93rd minute winner. He needs to have a late impact here in Naples to keep alive their Champions League aspirations, because City are trailing by 2-1 as we go back to Old Trafford and Conor McNamara.
Manchester United 2, Benfica 2, a big chance for Dimitar Berbatov, who volleyed over the crossbar from less than 10 yards. Alex Ferguson has just brought on Javier Hernandez in place of Valencia, so United have Berbatov, Young and Hernandez in attack. They need a winner here or this group is going to go down to the wire. Manchester United 2, Benfica 2.
Goal in the FA Cup, Mike Sewell.
The lowest ranked team left in the competition have drawn level. Redbridge have scored through Nathan Gordon, who followed up after Ben Bradbury's penalty was saved. It's Oxford City 1, Redbridge 1.
Silva looking for a through ball towards Xhaka. It is blocked. The blue shirts of Napoli, but Silva wins it back. Silva to Balotelli outside the area. Balotelli shot his chance down. Aronica, who was at fault for City's goal, which Balotelli scored, redeems himself, just running across to block the shot inside his penalty area as Aguero is coming on, and it may well soon be another substitution because Johnson, I think, is warming up, but for the time being it's Aguero to replace Dzeko for Manchester City.
Yeah, Dzeko not really being it. I think he's been a little bit disappointing this evening, hasn't looked sharp, and again it's a great opportunity now for Aguero to come on.
In Manchester United's group, Galat 2, Basel 3 in Romania. Wrexham in the FA Cup lead Cambridge by 2-0. 2-2, remember, at Old Trafford here in Naples. Napoli 2, Manchester City 1. We have 9 minutes remaining. 9 minutes for Manchester City to try and wrestle back some of the initiative as far as qualification from Group A is concerned. Yaya Toure. Here are the whistles once again from the Napoli supporters. Yaya Toure edges his way towards the penalty area. Back with the Ivorian once more. Shuffles the ball out towards, and it's played in towards Aguero. Aguero with a cut back. Balotelli's head is over the top. Goal kick. But the incision from Manchester City was there. The incision that has been lacking for the majority of this game.
Again, such attacking prowess when they go forward. You know, absolutely magnificent. You know, and again, Balotelli could have had a hat-trick. The last one was a magnificent save. it was a difficult header, maybe just behind him. But I think Manchester City will be absolutely delighted that Cavani's going off. I think, on the counter-attack, the most dangerous man on the field by some distance. Maybe a little bit of a negative substitution, I think, from Napoli, and this could certainly work against them.
So Cavani is replaced by the Macedonian international, Goran Pandev. But his 2 goals from Cavani, the Uruguayan, could be so crucial for giving Napoli the edge over Manchester City as far as the knockout stages is concerned. At Priestfield, Gillingham now lead Bournemouth by 3-1. As City look to put pressure on that Napoli back line, they go back towards De Santis. His clearance downfield comes a little bit askew off the foot of Lescott. It's kept in play by Kolarov. Hoists it downfield, and it's offside against Balotelli, and Campagnaro will take that free kick quickly across to Oronica. Forward then towards Pandev. And now they'll spread the ball over towards that far side. De Sena has made the run from left midfield. Goal kick, which Manchester City need to take quickly, which they have done. And this is Milner to Yaya Touré. They just back off him a little bit. He's got a good 6 yards in front of him as Yaya Touré. Over the halfway line now. Balotelli, Yaya Touré to Nasri. Nasri's past the Lescott, sold him a little bit short as Lavezzi tried to put him under some pressure. Lavezzi now leads the line. Pandev goes and tries to cut out the avenue as far as Zabaleta's concerned on that far side to right. City trailing 2-1. Red and black striped shirts playing from right to left. 5 live. Live here in Naples with Yaya Touré through towards Silva, side onto goal. Silva still has it. This is Aguero in towards the penalty area. The angle is tight. It's a corner kick to Manchester City. Aguero has made a real difference.
Yeah, it looks very, very sharp. Obviously wants to make a point, but again, all the Napoli defenders throwing their bodies in the way, heading things. Great Italian defending.
Corner taken. Balotelli beaten away by the goalkeeper. He hooked it on the volley down into the ground. De Santis pushed the ball away and gathered at the second attempt.
I'll tell you what, Balotelli's very, very unlucky. It was ultimately a mishit corner. It bounced right up almost around his chest high, almost bouncing behind him. Managed to get a fantastic strike at goal. Unfortunately for Sanctis, just bounced up into his arms. I think we're going to see in this last 5 or 6 minutes, whatever's left now. Can the Napoli players defend like we know Italians can?
Well, inside the Stadio San Paolo, which will be close to its 60,000 capacity, as Johnson comes on for Zabaleta, they will be the 12th man. They will look to carry them home. To
also
put them
be
in the driving seat behind.
Sorry, Ian, it'd be interesting now if the referee has to make a really big decision. This late stage in the game with this crowd. I don't know, it's going to take a very, very strong referee to make a big call if it happens.
Milner to Aguero into the penalty area. Aguero forces a very good save from De Santis, down in his near post. He was smartly away to his left to turn the ball behind for a corner.
And again, City so much better now, looking sharper, a little bit desperate, but going forward, such a powerful force.
They've taken it quickly. Milner's cross is blocked. And now Lavezzi, that was a cynical foul by Kolarov. Kolarov would have been left for dead by Lavezzi, and he's shown a yellow card. He was fortunate that he was in a safe place 10 yards inside his own half, because he was the last line of defence. As we go to Old Trafford and Conor McNamara.
Still 2-2, a big chance for Benfica though, for Rodrigo, who has hit the side netting with a left-footed shot. Manchester United 2, Benfica 2.
Real Madrid now lead Dinamo Zagreb by 6-1. They'd already qualified at Jose Mourinho's side before tonight, but they'll be confirmed now as group winners. And listen to the noise inside the Stadio San Paolo. Deafening, absolutely deafening. You can hardly hear yourself think as Joe Hart from that free kick will bowl the ball out towards that far side. Milner now playing at right back for Manchester City to Silva. Back towards Milner once again. Forward towards Adam Johnson. Johnson evades the sliding challenge from Oronica. On that right-hand side, looks up. Kills the ball in field. It was an errant ball. They've won it back, have Manchester City. Johnson stabs it inside towards Nasri, forward of the centre circle. Kolarov is forward, looking then towards Sergio Aguero, back out towards Kolarov, first time cross from the left, it's deep. Johnson will look to keep the ball in play. Over on that far side, the right. City trailing by 2-1. 2.5 minutes remain in towards the penalty area. Silva was in there for a bouncing ball that hasn't been dealt with by the Napoli defence. Aguero with a back heel. Nasri with a back flick. Kolarov with a low ball in from the left-hand side. Kolarov again, drilled in. Great pressure from Manchester City, and Napoli now clear. And we can finally get our breath back, Danny Mills.
I tell you what, this is turning into a fantastic game as Napoli make the substitute just to get a little bit of respite. But it's all City, attack. If City get back into this game, they have to thank Kolarov. It was the most cynical challenge, 10 yards inside their half. But if I forget who it was, if the Napoli player had got away,
Lavezzi
had got away from him, he would have scored. No, without a doubt, he had a half a pitch to run. It was the most cynical foul you'll ever see. But if City get back into that, Kolarov has certainly taken one for the team and deserves a lot of credit for that.
Federico Fernandez, the Argentinian international, now is going to slot into the centre of their defence. He's replaced De Sena, the former Liverpool player. So it's a defender essentially for a midfielder. They're just going to try and block things up at the back now in Napoli as Yaya Toure comes forward for Manchester City. Space aplenty on that right-hand side for Adam Johnson, hugging the right touchline. Johnson comes in field now, quickly close down. The ball goes up in the air. Fernandez will head the ball away, only as far as Silva. Silva can't go between two blue shirts though. They try and release Lavezzi, but it's blocked by Kompany. Kompany comes forward from the back, midway through the Napoli half. Time running out for Manchester City, still trailing by 2-1. 5 live here in Naples. Kolarov on the left-hand side has support from Nasri. Nasri midway through the Napoli half to Yaya Toure. Toure accelerates. Lavezzi will go with him. It's hard to believe, but the volume has just been increased. This is Yaya Toure. His cross headed away. The whistles will tell you when City are back in possession. Milner's got a throw on the right-hand side. By my watch, we're now inside the last 30 seconds of normal time. Brian Kidd has actually just checked with the fourth official. He's just told Roberto Mancini how much added on time there will be. We will find out very, very soon, as Cambridge United have got a goal back at Wrexham. Wrexham 2, Cambridge 1, here in the Champions League. Remember, at Old Trafford it's still 2-2, but Napoli lead by 2-1. Break on now for Napoli. Lavezzi can't get on hold of the ball as it was played to him by Gargano. His header was just, he was a little bit too short. It has finished at Old Trafford 2-2. Result, Manchester United 2, Benfica 2. Manchester City with 3 minutes of added on time in possession. Right hand side, Milner waits, Johnson to head of him. Right hand side, can't keep the ball in play.
I tell you what, Ian, listen to this crowd. I tell you, when you're playing, and you're up against it, that crowd, it gives you such a boost. It gives you an extra 25% energy. You start making runs, making tackles. This crowd believe, and they've been absolutely fantastic. City have been much better in the last 10-15 minutes. They've really had a go. A couple of really good chances, but just listen to this crowd. The support they are giving to their players is absolutely phenomenal.
Here is Silva. The referee has to sidestep the ball, but it's been intercepted by Maggio. Maggio is kick and rush. As far as Maggio is concerned, Lescott was the covering defender back towards Hart. Maggio had continued his run, and Hart hurriedly clattered the ball away downfield. Headed away by Fernandez for Napoli. Kompany hurriedly looking to put pressure on Pandev. Commits a free kick, and that is almost celebrated in a goal itself, because Napoli now have a free kick just over the halfway line. They can take some pressure off their defence, and with 90 seconds of added on time remaining, Napoli lead by 2-1, as it's now Gillingham 3, Bournemouth 2 in the FA Cup. Danny Mills.
Well, I tell you what, Napoli have defended fantastic. They've been supported here by a magnificent crowd. The noise here has been one of the best atmospheres I've been in for many a year. An enthralling, entertaining game. I think City have come back into it in the last 15 or so minutes when they've really pushed forward and had a go, but they've left it too little, too late.
Balotelli keeps his feet in towards the penalty area, lacks support, outnumbered really in defence, and Napoli will clear. Danny Mills, a Champions League semi-finalist with Leeds United 11 years ago. experiencing what has been a remarkable and memorable atmosphere, but the scoreline is far from it for Manchester City, trailing by 2-1. Last throw of the dice, Johnson right hand side, goes past 3 challenges, Balotelli outside the penalty area, works it back out towards the right, Johnson looks up, Johnson's cross is too deep and goes out of play for a goal kick, and the noise will tell you that it's safe as far as Napoli concerned. Birmingham 2, Burnley 1. Birmingham may well be going third into the championship this evening, and now they know it's close. Now they know inside this stadium that the Slovenian referee Dominas Kamina will be very, very close to blowing his whistle, and Napoli will have the advantage over Manchester City. And there is the final whistle. Manchester City have been beaten, and their destiny is no longer in their own hands. As far as Group A is concerned, this is a real setback. It's a crushing blow. Napoli 2, Manchester City 1.
Well, I fear Manchester City have possibly blown their chances of getting into the qualification. I think tactically from the start, I think Mancini got it slightly wrong. City sat back, they've proved this season they're not good at that. The atmosphere here was absolutely magnificent. This has to be one of the best games I've been at for some time. You know, it had everything, there's plenty of chances. City really had a go in the last 10-15 minutes, but it really was too little too late. The fans really did get behind their team, and it's a magnificent atmosphere. For me, I think Napoli probably shaded it on the night. Cavani, I thought, was absolutely outstanding. His pace all night long caused a problem to City. Balotelli had 1 or 2 chances late on, but City never really, for me, created enough chances.
There are at least 4 flares lit up around the ground, but almost to a man and woman and child inside this stadium, they have a blue and white scarf aloft, or a blue and white flag that is flying, small or large. It is a remarkable scene. I don't know about Mount Vesuvius erupting, but inside the stadium it certainly erupted when that final whistle was blown. Manchester City now need to beat Bayern Munich, and now requiring a favour as well from Villarreal in Spain against Napoli on December the 7th. It's finished here in Naples. Napoli 2, Manchester City 1.
Finished 2-2 here as well, so we need to talk about both Manchester clubs and what they need to do. Danny, just stay there for a second. Bayern Munich 13 points, 3-1 up on Villarreal, not quite over yet. Napoli now 8 points, Manchester City 7, Villarreal no points. City at home to Bayern Munich, Villarreal against Napoli. It's out of their hands, Danny. At the moment, you have to say it looks like Europa League football for Manchester City in the new year.
And that's almost disastrous. I remember saying at the very, very beginning when City got this, it's a tough group. You know, Napoli are an emerging force. They've not done fantastic in Serie A, but they've been every single Champions League game, they have raised their game. And tonight you can see why at home. With this crowd behind them, they are going to be a force in Europe. They've got some very, very special players. Their front 3 players, Hamsik, Cavani and Lavezzi, I think are absolutely magnificent. And I think on the balance of play, probably I think Napoli deserved the victory this evening.
The lines are open, 0500 909 693. So much to talk about Manchester City. What sort of impact, were they to go out of the Champions League, would it have on their league form? Manchester United as well. Manchester United 9 points, Benfica 9, Basel 8. Basel, Manchester United and Benfica Galats to come. So Benfica are likely to win the group. A draw in Switzerland will be enough for Manchester United, but still work to do here as well. So give us a call, 0500 909 693.